although it seems questionable, the outcomes are rarely positive. The results are rarely what we expect. We human beings seem to be given to extremes. We seem to violently careen and bang between opposites. We don't seem to be able to find meaning in the middle, but are given to extremes. We know this to be true in the political world. You have on the one hand those who call themselves right-wing conservatives, and they have definite ideas about what they believe this republic ought to do. On the other hand, you have the liberals who now call themselves progressives. And they have clearly delineated ideas concerning who we are and what we should do. This is true in the biblical world. You have those biblical literalists, fundamentalists, who believe that God himself dictated every word of Scripture. And they claim that its accuracy can be found in every comma, every semicolon, every period. Then there are the so-called modernists who say, no, the stories are not actually true, but they're given to us that we might learn the precepts and the concepts of the story. Such extremity reaches even to God himself. For there are those who will tell you that God is a God of love. And God is a God of liberation and social justice. Others say that God is a God of holiness, and righteousness, and laws, and commandments, and ordinances. But I would say to these extremists, in the political realm, I would say that I've never seen a bird or an airplane fly with one wing. Nor have ever seen a bird or an airplane fly with both wings on the same side. I would say to the biblical people that the story and the precepts are true. And I would say to those who speak of God that you will notice that God gave Moses to first liberate Israel from bondage, and then he gave them commandments to live by. Now, such thinking naturally would find its place in our Christian world. There are those who are churchy, and they believe that church is all about the architecture, the building, the liturgy, the order of service, the pomp and circumstance, how we do worship. They're caught up in the sacerdotal experience of religion. And there are those who said, no, that's not what Christianity is all about. Christianity is about meeting human needs, touching people where they are. It's about the real and the relevant. But I would suggest to you that if you look at Jesus, you see both. For Jesus went to the synagogue. Jesus went to the synagogue and sang the songs and quoted the scriptures of his fathers. Jesus, whenever he was in Jerusalem, went to the temple. As a matter of fact, in that puzzling incident when he was 12 years old and his parents couldn't find him. Where was he? He was in the temple. And when they found him, he said to his puzzled parents, "Did you not know that I had to be in my Father's house?" As a matter of fact, the only time you see Jesus angry, one of the few times, is when they had turned his Father's house into a den of thieves. And you saw him kick over the tables of the money changers and take a cord and whip people out of the church. And then he said, "The zeal of my Father's house has eaten me up." Jesus loved and went to church. But that does not mean that Jesus did not touch real people. For when he left the church, I said when he left the church, he taught people. He touched people. He healed people. He lifted people. He forgave people. He strengthened people. And that brings me to my text this morning. In this 9th chapter of Matthew, in this one chapter, Jesus heals a paralyzed man and forgives his sin. And you know we need both, don't you? If you help my outside but not my inside, I'm still crippled. So he heals a paralyzed man and forgives his sin. Then he heals a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years, raised a daughter from the dead, cast demons out of the minds of the tortured and the tormented, and then healed 2 blind men. He did that in one chapter. And I want you to know, whatever chapter you're in this morning, he's here to meet your need. And so, I want you to notice now what happens. Apparently, we pick up the story from Jesus leaving the home of the child that was raised from the dead. And there's a crowd following him. And 2 blind men scream out, "Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on us." I want you to put a pin right there, because notice they were the first ones to call him Son of David, which means they recognize him as the Messiah. Put a point there. I'll come back to that. "Jesus, thou son of David." And you know, I was so glad that Elder Fowler led us in that song, "Holy, Holy, Holy." It was on my mind this morning. It does you no good to worship God if you don't know who you're worshiping. It does you no good to come to church and go through some rote and some ritual if you don't know who the focus is. It's all a waste of time. If you don't know what the purpose is, if you don't know the driving force, Jesus, not just a good man, not just a prophet, not just a teacher, not just another reverend or elder, but the Son of David. Have mercy on us. Jesus goes into the house, and they followed him. Now, when they get in the house, Jesus says to them, "Do you believe that I'm able to do this?" Now, what he's doing there, he's challenging the depth of their religion. You just called me Messiah, but do you believe I'm able to do it? I'm afraid we have too many churches calling him Messiah, but don't believe he can do anything. We call him Messiah, but we hold on to our troubles. We call him Messiah, but we don't know he can make a way out of no way. We call him Messiah, but we don't give him a chance to lift our load, and you don't give him a chance to break the yoke from our shoulder. He's Messiah, but he's also our deliverer in the present tense. Do you believe? Now, I'm not going to insult you, and don't you insult me. You wouldn't be here this morning if you didn't believe there is a God. But my dear Christian friends, there's a difference between believing there is a God and believing in God. Everybody knows this universe didn't just happen. I believe there is a God. The universe is too complex. Your body is too complex. I believe there is a God, but I also believe in God. I believe he woke me up this morning. I believe he's my help and my strength. I believe he's my healer and my help. I believe he makes a way for me out of no way. I believe he forgives my sins and dries the tears from my eyes. I believe he can help me whatever I'm going through. I don't just believe there is a God. I believe in God. So then they said, the answer was, yes, Lord. You know, sometimes I think we have too much to say. Dr. King said we get bogged down in the paralysis of analysis. We are so empirical. We're so intellectual. We postmodern intelligentsia with our scope of knowledge and our iPhones and our iPads. We know so much. We've got too much to say. Well, how can this happen? And how can that happen? And if this happens, all God needs you to say is, yes, Lord. I can't figure it out, but yes, Lord. I don't know how you're going to do it, but yes, Lord. I can't figure it out in my checkbook, in my slide rule. I can't Google it. I can't get it on it, but yes, Lord, I know you're able. We just need to tell him, yes, Lord. Go ahead and do what you want to do. Yes, Lord. I believe you in spite. And I close when I tell you this. This text says, pay attention. According, oh my God, listen to what he said. According, I wish you'd hear this text, to your faith. Now here's where we miss it. We believe that our deliverance is somewhere between the power of God and the problem we have. That means we think the problem is so great. The problem is so great and it's so intense and it's such a big deal. It's such I've had this problem 30 years. I can't quit smoking. I can't quit smoking. I can't quit drinking. I can't quit shacking. I just can't. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm facing. You don't know my situation. You up there preaching, but you don't know. You got your wife. You got your house. You don't know. You don't know. I got to do this. I got to sell drugs. I got to smoke. I got to drink. I got to shack. I can't. It's the problem, Reverend. It's too great. Ain't nothing can be done about this. That's why I live like I do. I go to church, but you can't help this problem. I got to do this. Yeah, I know God is a deliverer, but he can't deliver my habit. He can't stop me from doing this. He just can't. He ain't that strong. My problem is stronger than my God. That's why I ain't even trying to quit. I've just surrendered to it. And other people have a problem with the power of God. And when it comes to the power of God, it's, well, I know. Some people doubt that he has the power, and others say he has it, but will he do it for me? Some of you make yourself theological exceptions. In other words, you sow whatever, he can't do it for you, or he won't do it for you. Now, he rescued Moses, and he was a murderer, but he can't do it for you. He rescued David, and he was an adulterer, but he can't do it for you. He rescued Elijah, and he had a depression problem, but he can't do it for you. He rescued Jonah, and he was a disobedient, but he can't do it for you. He rescued Rahab, she was a harlot, but he can't do it for you. He rescued Ruth, and she was a Moabitess, but he can't do it for you. He rescued Peter. He was a cussing preacher, but he can't do it for you. He rescued John Mark. He ran away, but you're so special. You just got such a problem. He can't do it for you. He picked you out to say, everybody but you. But I came to tell you, it's not the power. God has the power. And it's not the problem. The issue is your faith. If you believe it, God can do it. If you put your faith in him, he can bring you out. It's not his power. He has the power. It's not your problem. There's nothing too hard for God. If you believe it, it's a life center. You can take this home with you. It's according to your faith. He's putting you on the spot. He's putting you on Front Street. He said, if you believe me, I'll show you my power. If you believe me, I'll open your blind eyes. If you believe me, I'll put running in your feet. If you believe me, I'll help you with your bills. If you believe me, I'll heal your sick body. If you believe me, I'll build you a new church. If you believe me, I'll give you the desires of your heart. If you believe me, I'll make the devil behave. If you believe me, I'll bring the high place place down. If you believe me, I'll bring the low place up. If you believe me, I'll make the crooked way straight. I'll make the rough place plain. If you believe me, I'll help you, and I'll hold you, and I'll save you, and I'll secure you, and I'll deliver you, and I'll bless you. The doors of the church are open right now.